Would you like to introduce yourself to the world?
Of course. So my name is Alicia Hudson. Pretty much, that's all I go by. It's Alicia Hudson. I kind of like take the name Charmed, or Charm in a retrospect of like just like a bit of a tag up, or like when I write, I go by Charm. But no one's really heard my work, so yeah, just Alicia.
So you can plug your. Have you got work actively going on right now, or?
No, not at this moment. No, not at this moment. I'm always writing. I'm always writing. I've got a couple of like, bars against instrumentals, but just a bit more of like a release than anything else. Nothing that's actually going to be heard, but we'll never know. I've actually been thinking about getting some money together and hitting up my mate Chetmate and getting into the studios, but we'll see.
Nice, nice. So we're gonna hear you on at some point then.
Maybe.
All right, all
Not
right.
promising anything.
All right, we'll expect the mixtape soon. So
Awesome.
so you're not currently writing actively at the moment, but you used to. Is that right?
Yes, that's it. So I used to do like publications. So I used to run a hip hop magazine called Wordplay in Perth Underground.
Right.
It was going really great. I did it for 2 years, and I had this massive opportunity. Wordplay UK, Nev and those boys, they actually came to me personally. They've seen my work, they've seen the stimulation that I've created in the underground scene, and they loved it, and they wanted to join brands. But unfortunately, because of circumstances, I was unable to lift that off, and so I left.
Right. And is that as a company still going on, or?
No, actually. So surprisingly, this wordplay was actually underneath a arts and media organisation called Colossal, which is a beautiful, beautiful organisation for the youth, to
Hmm.
basically entrepreneurs as well as arts, writing, photography, videography, many other outlets in publication. And basically, because it was run underneath 12 board members, I wasn't allowed to join brands. And I've obviously keep following wordplay, see what they're up to, see what they're doing. And unfortunately, last time I checked, there's no such thing as a Wordplay Australia.
Wow.
So, so it's up for grabs, I guess.
So it got completely shut down.
Yeah, I think the resources, there was none to be found. Basically, when I was working there for 2 years, it seemed that wordplay was always put on the back step. It was never really looked upon in the company, and a lot more of the other businesses and students there were giving a lot more attention than myself to wordplay when it was just like meh.
And so
So
was that when you was in college or university?
that was when I literally just finished my marketing degree. So I got out of my marketing and I went straight into basically Colossal, where I volunteered for a bit. And then obviously I got given it as an editorial position in Wordplay. And I did that for 2 years. And I got a little bit of a team together. I can actually send you the PDF magazine version, which never actually got released, unfortunately.
Nice. Am I able to like link that in my description for other people to read at all?
Of course, of course.
Brilliant.
This will be the first time ever to actually be released. So I hope you guys give it a read. Actually, it's amazing.
That's good. So we'll have the world premiere exclusive on the channel then.
Yeah, pretty much,
So
crazy.
are you interested in starting something like that up again?
100%. I was actually gonna talk to you, Chazza. See if you want to start something.
Hey,
Bring that bridge from the UK to
here we
Australia.
go. Here we go. We're talking business now. Look at this.
Talking business, exclusive, man.
Okay, so what have you got in mind? What's your vision for what you want to take forward?
So what I want to take forward is not just the so basically what we called it was Wordplay Australia, and our logo was the owl, and the owl was basically the messenger of the elements, and not just in rap, but in everything, in the graffiti, in the style, in basically just like the culture that we go
Hip
by,
hop as a
the
culture.
lifestyle that. Yeah, 100%. So not just in rap and the music, even though that's something that I take very wholeheartedly. It's, I want to do all elements of hip hop. And I think we can understand we all wear that trademark upon our chest. Freaking big up to freaking Fracture, man.
Yeah.
Fucking, he's put a horse on his left side. So yeah,
Yeah, shout out Fracture. First and foremost, Fracture is a great guy to speak to. Really humble
100%,
person.
100%.
From the little bit that I've spoken to him, seems like a very grounded guy and obviously a massive
He is.
pioneer in
He's
the
very
scene.
down to earth, man. Very down to earth.
Definitely. So props to him. Um, so continue. So that was the whole what could you say, like the branding with the owl and the logo and everything. So
Yeah.
what do you wanna do in terms of content?
Content, it will be like album reviews, it'll be gig reviews, it will be interviews. It'll be basically an outlet for all different other outlets. Such as like Street X, or just, yeah, it'd be absolutely amazing. Just try and bring everyone together, like a one-stop go to read everything about hip hop.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think that's something that the Oz scene can really do with, because I mean, you've got loads of small things here and there. I'm not too sure in terms of
Chazza, if you've seen on Instagram, it's coming a bit of like a viral thing about like getting the likes and grabbing the attention for yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone's creating all these like Oz hip hop, like UK, Australia, and it's just basically a matter of like them guys just wanting attention and getting the likes, because they're stealing like the guys' work. They're not just like doing like promotion, they're just like getting clippets of their work and claim it as their own to get likes. Like there's this one Insta page that I saw, and they literally just took the whole entire like THC TV introduction clip and put it on theirs, and I was like, that's a bit far-fetched, to be honest. That's just going like claiming. I didn't really appreciate it. So yeah.
And do they credit these pages that they're using the content from, or?
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're not really like promoting it in a such. Like, you get like legit ones, like they've been there around for like God knows how long. But then you get these ones that are just popping up, and they're just like, even Mitros mentioned it in one of his stories. Like, there's just like there's so many now. It's like where's the line?
Well, that's what I was going to come on to, is saying in terms of I'm not too sure about magazines and things like that, but I know in terms of Instagram and whatnot, there's plenty of pages.
Damn.
But I mean, even though you're saying that they're taking people's content, is it fair to say that they're still promoting other artists, because new people come to the page and then they might go, oh, who's this guy?
Of course. I know, 100% agree. Like, it's all about like the love and everything. Like, they're doing it because they do love these guys, and it is their part of their life to follow these guys, and just want to share their work to the rest of the world and their own followers. Which might be a different, like an outreach to a different target. However, though, like when I think it stepped the line when this guy literally took the whole entire introduction of THC TV and put it on his page, and I was like, maybe do a clip from his music video, but he just took the whole entire THC TV, like introduction.
Yeah. I mean,
which is like some guys worked on, and like, yeah.
And
like,
would you see that as okay if they give full credit to THC and Greeley and all the people that run that as a group?
I don't know. I don't really know what happened after that. I didn't see any comments. I kind of like, just unfollowed the page. I've got plenty of pages like that, so I kind of just like left it alone. I was like, oh, you're not really THC TV, and you're like, you're bringing that into their own introduction,
Yeah.
Kind of like Risky Roads, like people take like, little clippets of Risky Roads, but you don't like do like, like the whole introduction, or like Real Talk, I used to follow Real Talk a lot. What's happening with them?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, it's them community guidelines and monetization and copyright. Yeah. I mean, if this is 100%. Coming from a person who deals with copyright heavily, obviously, I'm using other people's content, especially during reactions. And for the most part in the Oz scene, not too many people monetize their work other than a small handful of basically Hilltop Hoods, Bliss and SO, Cursor, and maybe the odd track here or there. But for the most part, it's not monetized or whatnot. So the few that have, it's treading on eggshells, really, because I only want to use the people's content. Obviously, I'm using it to give my reaction and obviously promote it to anybody who hasn't heard the song or who hasn't seen the video, or even just reminding people, you haven't heard that song in years. It's an old school song and it's a bit of a throwback. And so I mean it with the cleanest of intentions.
I haven't seen the leaf ties over, but there's with you, man, like you definitely have that unique flavor that everyone just loves about you, man. And like there's a lot of reaction videos out there, but yours just managed to like lift off, and it's absolutely amazing how far you've come, and just to watch you grow has been amazing.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, it's so been
when's your content? When's your mixtape coming out?
My mixtape, don't worry, it's in the works. Don't worry, it's in the works. In the works. It'll be coming at some point soon.
Gorgeous.
But I mean, going back to the whole point of Oz reaction channels, has there been an influx in reaction channels, especially on Oz content in particular, would you say?
No, and not that I've seen. There's been some floating around. You know, I've been seeing some others, but not compared to yours, hon. Not
Only
compared
reason
to
I
yours.
say that is because I mean I've only found a small handful of channels that have created Oz reaction content on a regular basis, and if they do, obviously they're kind of sticking to the same format, which is something I did for I'd say 4 or 5 months, and then over time I thought, right, I want to carry this into something different. I want to start doing something different. For example, the podcast, for example, album reviews and different things like that, and not just become a reaction channel, but become an Oz content channel, if that makes sense.
How come Australia though? How come you didn't do like your hometown, like your home, like England?
So I'll tell the story that I've told before. So I was doing UK reactions around December 2017. And started UK reactions, and the reason I started that is because I was watching reaction videos at the time, and I thought that most of them were either fake reactions, like just overdoing it, or you know, something that wasn't quite genuine.
Just to be an actor.
And then you had the other half that it wasn't. It didn't feel like they knew what they were talking about. You know, it was they would nod their head to the video, then they'll be like, subscribe, and see you later, and it'll be like, okay, I mean, bro, you do you. I'm not here to hate on you, but I just felt like it wasn't the correct way to do it.
I do me. Life carries on.
That's it. You do you, boo. And so I started to do reaction videos the way I thought they should have been done, by breaking them down at the end and just giving my thoughts to the best of my own knowledge. And I kept doing that up until about let's see, about April, May kind of time, until a guy called JMO Lennon, shout out JMO, he commented on one of my UK reactions and was just like, oh, check out this Triple J cipher. We've got grime in Oz. And I'm like, what? Australia have a whole scene? Because at the moment, obviously, the UK scene is doing its best to rival the US scene, or try and push into the US so that America doesn't take us as a joke. And so, yeah, preaching to a scene that almost reminds me of the early stages of the UK scene. And so, yeah, but reacted to that Triple J cipher and was actually surprised at how good it was. And it was kind of like, why should we underestimate them? You know, the UK are underestimated by the US. We're looked down upon almost. So why should we do the same to Australia? And so,
100%.
checked out more content.
We are your cousin. We are your sisters. You know, we are your brothers.
I think it's quite interesting, the relationship that the scenes have. I mean, from my personal standpoint, obviously there's the US scene, the UK scene, and then Australia. And it's funny how the UK seems to be, the Oz seems to be closer to the UK than it is the US at this point in time. You know, there's a lot more UK collaborations and link-ups than there is in the US.
Well, there's a lot more Australian music, and like, you know, productions are being the content of it is actually being up like onto MTV, which is pretty amazing. Like, that's just been happening in the last 6 months, you know. Like with Shadow, Nerve, Fracture, all their work and all their production and all their hard work is actually being noticed by the US and actually being onto MTV, you know.
Shout out to them boys as well, because they fully deserve it. Like, the names you just dropped there fully deserve it.
We literally just had the 26 artists all band together around Australia and Tasmania, man, and New Zealand, fucking with the last ever 50-50 Grime event at Grumpy's, man. So shout out to Grumpy's, man, and shout out to all those guys. Absolutely amazing. It was like sweatbox in there. Could not be any more fucking rowdy than what it was. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've definitely got to praise about the Oz scene, is the energy that there is from the shows. You know, obviously I only see clips and snippets and whatnot, but the energy that there is, you can have a rowdy bunch at a show.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to come through. When are you coming down under, hun?
When I've got the finances to.
Of course, it is. We're all in the same boat, hun. It's very difficult times at the moment.
Yep. No, I definitely hear that one, but no, obviously I really do want to come down when I have the money to. Of course, I'll be coming down.
So where would you go first? Where would you go?
Well, if I come down, that's the thing. If I go one place, I'm going to upset the rest, aren't I? So I've at least got to go.
Yeah, you are, man.
Perth. We'll go Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Yeah, Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. We've got to do them 4 at least before we start worrying about the full road trip tour. But no, I definitely do want to come out and experience them shows firsthand. And again, that's something that I have to compliment, you know. I mean, it depends on the artist from any scene, really, how much energy you can get from a crowd. But I've been to a few shows in the UK, and some artists really do struggle just to get the crowd bouncing. let alone screaming your lyrics word for word, jumping around mosh pits, and, you know, really creating that memorable experience for the fans. Because, I mean, it's a really important aspect of an artist's career, really, is performing. You know?
100%. Like, as like, you know, going back to tour and just what you've been saying about, like, you know, like, it's the listeners and the fans that make the artists who they are, and especially quoted by Chillinit, who always mentions that it's his fans that made him who he is today. And if it wasn't for his fans and the listeners, where would they be? And just to let you know, like, Chillinit's just kicked off his tour, man, which is absolutely amazing. So, you know, like, that's going to be amazing. I'm heading to one of their shows in Melbourne with LGs by his side and Wombat.
Nice.
So, fucking no.
Yeah, LGs. Well, let's have a quick conversation about LGs now. So, rumour has it, few little birdies tell me that a certain little AJ's making a return this year.
Yeah. So that's what I've heard. 100%, man. Yeah, he was at the 50-50, man, and with fucking Son of Sam, man, with Sunna. So it's absolutely to see those boys together up on the stage, man. Like, it's been a while. I remember their first ever show that I went to, and that was back in like 2016 with their Cloud9 launch, man. So you know, that was back at Mojo's in Perth. So yeah,
which is a great album or mixtape, by the way. That Cloud9.
Yeah, 100%. If you haven't got it, go cop it now. You know.
Yeah, never too late to go give it a listen.
Never too late. No, seriously, Chaz, I was gonna actually I just finished work. I was walking around the city, and it was like literally just like, you know, like so random. But I went into JB Hi-Fi, going through the freaking CDs, man. Of course, Australian only, urban. And fucking where did I pull out? And I pulled out freaking Cloud9. And I was like, oh my god, this is meant to be. And I bought it right there and then, a hard copy of LG's Cloud9.
Brilliant. I actually had someone from, was it No One? Oh, I don't want to get this wrong now. I want to say it was No One Network. I think No One Network sent me a hard copy of that. They sent over a few different bits. If it wasn't No One Network, I apologize to whoever it was. I can't remember now. But someone sent they sent an LG's top. They sent the hard copy album of it. They sent a few other projects as well. They sent like an old
BTE, because that's what the label that the boys are known for.
Yeah, maybe
like
it was.
Fashion.
Honestly, I'm having
BTE, Broken Tooth Entertainment.
Yeah, Broken Tooth.
Taunts.
That was it. Yeah, Taunts.
Yeah.
I got a what was it? A vinyl edition of Taunts' old project that was really dope. It's just like, I can't play this right now, but it's so dope.
Nice.
So,
that's awesome.
Definitely something I'll have to keep it. I mean, that's something that's dying nowadays. I mean, just hard copies of music.
100%. Like, I'm not really a vinyl girl, but I would definitely like to hold one. You know what I mean? Like, just to hold one. But you know what I mean? I'd definitely like just to purchase a vinyl. They're very like sacred. They're very, you know, and like the sound is supposedly so much better on a record player. So the sound's there, and sound will always be there. You know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's a shame to see that CDs slowly dying. You know, the fact that
I've got my own CD collection myself, and I'm not gonna stop buying CDs. So
good. I say to anyone, if you're able to buy the hard copies of people's albums to support the artists and whatnot. Which, to be fair, is something that I'm preaching and not practicing myself too much. I will be perfectly honest, but you know, it is the best way to support the artist. You know, more money goes directly into their pocket as opposed to streaming services. But you know, I can understand it. You know, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you use. You know, it's just so easy to just click it for free. You know, instead of going out 100%. And paying money.
Yeah, so it's definitely gonna think, like, you know, as like time goes on, you know, as the scene gets bigger and more young cats are like, you know, trying to compete with the old dogs. It's, I think, going to get a lot more harder, you know, especially with like you said, like streaming and like copyright and, you know, etc.
Yeah. I mean, I was walking to work last week and I see a billboard thing, and it was like, we need 4 million streams on our album to pay for what we to pay for this advert on this billboard, basically. Can't remember it word for word, and they were literally like, please stream our album, and they just had it up there. I can't remember what, but it was some sort of band, but it was just like 4 million streams just to pay back a few £100 or a few $100 just to, you know, pay back what they spent to get that advertised, which is absolutely crazy.
Well, have you ever seen that little post I've seen on Facebook? It's like, people are more happy than to buy a cup of coffee for like $4, which lasts, you know, it doesn't, compared to like $1 on Apple for music for a lifetime, you know?
Yeah. It is. It's crazy. And again, I don't blame people. I'm not even mad at people in general because, again, it's easier to just pay a Spotify premium or just use YouTube, you know, the old YouTube to MP3 convert. I do not condone it. But yeah, you know, people just do that. And that's their way of listening to their music for free. And that's the thing about the internet. You can get pretty much anything for free, especially when it comes to music.
Yes, unfortunately. But, you know, I've always said to myself, you know, once I can support myself, I can actually support the people that I love to listen to and support their work so they can continue making the work that I love to listen to every day. Yeah. But, you know, it's very hard, like, you know, like we were saying before, we're both in that financial situation. You know, like, you got things going on, I've got things going on, and, you know, like, these boys are just trying to make a living out of this, and it's like, oh, I'm still trying to make a living out of myself, you know?
Mm-hmm. Which, don't get me wrong, it's not like you need money to be putting your stuff out online or anything nowadays. Obviously, money helps. Of course, money helps and money propels things a lot further forward. I mean, at the end of the day, 100%. My videos wouldn't be the quality they are now if I didn't dump the stupid amount of money I did into my setup, you know? So, money does help. Of course it does. But people, I know people that are literally huge on Instagram just off of freestyles that they've done, leaning it against their pillow on their bed doing freestyles, you know? Nearly everyone has a mobile phone nowadays with a camera, so use it, you know? And so I encourage anyone who, no matter what you want to do, really, but whether it's rap related or not, whether you want to be an artist or a journalist or a media outlet or social media platform, you know, there is ways to just get it started. And, you know, I say that's the best thing to do.
You know, look at the apps and the applications on phones now. Like, anyone can become a singer. Anyone can be a producer now. Everyone can make beats now. You know, I used to study sound production for a small time. And, you know, it's like, it used to be like all like the old fashioned, like 24 lever, like digital audio workstation, you know? And, you know, you don't need, that's not necessarily anymore. You can just like download an app on your phone and start making beats that way.
I know, literally apps for free that come with samples and beats and everything, and you know, you've got that. You've got apps just for reaction videos. You know, the amount of YouTube videos I see with the watermark tagged in the corner, reactioncam.com or something like that. You know, there is something that you can find.
Yeah, I've actually seen a couple of like of that on like Instagram, like videos. It's like their watermark spread across like the artist's face. I'm like, oh, okay.
But it's like a different kind of hustle nowadays. I mean, in London, a specific part of Camden Town, you come out the station, there's always people trying to sell you their mixtapes and their EPs and their albums and hard copies. Like, I remember me and my brother Jake walking around there one day. We must have been 12 or 13. This was before I really got into rap. And walking past, and your man's literally stopped us, like, big guy, big jacket, quite rough looking, and he's gone, hey, yo boys, what music do you listen to? So I thought, you know what? He's definitely trying to sell me a rap CD or project. So let me just say something different. And I said, house music. Yeah, you don't look like a house. Believe my man said, you know what? I got this one track that's a little bit drum and bass. And I'm like, big man, I didn't say that. But either way, he puts it in your hand and he's like, yeah. And we're just like, yeah, we'll give it a listen. Like, yeah, we'll check it out on YouTube. And he's like, and as we're about to leave, he's like, no, you got to pay for that, boy. It's £5. And we're like, whoa, we weren't looking to buy it. And he's just like, whoa, you got it in your hand, so pay up. You know, that was their kind of hustle, kind of pressuring us into it. Yeah. Man. And luckily that day I didn't even have £5. Otherwise, knowing little old me, I probably would have given it. But, you know, it's a different kind of hustle. Being out 5, 6, 7 days a week trying to sell hard copies of your album. Now people can sit on social media, comment on a bunch of public pages with hashtags and start liking things and DMing, and it's a different kind of hustle nowadays to get your music out there, really.
Always, man, always. But you know, it's like, it's kind of like one of the main fundamentals of what these guys like content's about is hustling. You know, weed, bitches, money, and hustling. You know, it's like kind of like what their like trademark is for. Not every artist, you know, not every content that you hear, you know, is always appealing to the ears. Yeah. You know, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like, hustle, you gotta hustle hard, hon.
And you definitely do. I mean, in this game, especially where more and more people day by day are creating YouTube channels and whatnot, and that are going for, as we said before, just go for it. There's plenty of people that are going for it, and so what you end up getting is this oversaturated market of people trying to do the same thing, and so it's difficult to come up with something new that nobody else has done yet in your own way, you know, in your own way. and really appeal
sometimes
to
you
that
gotta look at
market.
it as more of like inspiration, you know what I mean? Like, this guy's doing this something, and like this guy's doing another thing. It's kind of like, well, if he can do it, then why can't I do it? And it's kind of like, it's kind of like you work off each other, you rub off on each other, and like you inspire each other, I know it's a very competitive game, the music industry, but you can't always look at it as a competition and more as an inspiration.
Oh, definitely. And it's difficult, actually practicing that preach, for the simple fact of rap is a very competitive sport, should you say. Rap is competitive at the end of the day. And I think if you have the right kind of competitiveness, if that's even a word, to be able to try and one up each other, but also, support what each other's doing, I think that's one of the best ways to grow.
100%.
Especially if you are an artist trying to collab with other people and link up with other people. You've got to bring your A game. You've got to be the best one in that room or on that track or on that cypher. But at the end of the day, you do have to support each other.
100%. And it's like, at the end of the day, we all have a story to tell. Like, we all have a story to tell. May it be similar, may it be not, but we definitely do have a story to tell. And whether you want to make it or not, you have to like put the hours in. And this is why these boys are known. This is why we know these names, because these boys put the hours in and the work shows.
Oh, definitely. Coming full circle with that. So you going back to how, what was it, 26 artists going around Oz doing the tour?
It was artists from across all around Australia, man. Australia, Tasmania, and fucking the boys from New Zealand, man, that I've never heard of before. All up on the one stage, man, and they're just like, back to back bars, man. Absolutely amazing.
And that's the thing, although they're shouting at each other and supporting each other, don't get it twisted. Each and every one of them are trying to be the best one there. They're trying to, do the best that they possibly can, be the hardest one, the most memorable one up on stage. But at the end of the day, they're working and bouncing off each other.
Who can draw the loudest crowd in, who can get, like the crowd doing them,
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, no matter what any artist says in terms of not caring about numbers, of course you do. Because it's a massive difference between performing to 10 people at a house party or something to, a few hundred people on stage or a few thousand at a festival, There is a massive difference. And if you're an artist, there's no denying that you want people to listen to your music. You want people to like your music. So for all the people that say they don't care about numbers, yes, to a certain extent, some can care about it more than others.
Care about the numbers. If you want this to be a serious thing for yourself, of course you have to care about the numbers. Like we're going back before. You need the fans, you need the people. They will make you an artist.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
A known artist. You know what I mean?
And
like as a career.
And especially if you are looking to do this full time. If you're telling me, what, I don't have to work a boring 9 to 5 and I can do music instead. Okay, I'm down. And you can't blame anyone for wanting to chase that, to be able to support not only themselves, but, their close friends, their family, parents, anyone who's...
Well, I know heaps of cats, man. I know heaps of cats that not only do the artists and, like, their music as, like, their passion, but also keep a 9 to 5 job, So they're just working twice as hard. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And it, there's some people that really do put in the work for years and years, and sometimes you don't get much recognition for that until the very end. Some don't at all. Some people work their arse off, and most of it can be behind the scenes, more than you actually realize. Someone I'm going to use as an example of that is Greeley. Greeley seems from the bits that I've spoke to him, once again another person who's very humble, really friendly guy to chat to.
100%.
From what I hear from different artists and fans of this scene for a long time, the people who I really trust their word, they say that he's put in so much work behind the scene, setting up battle rap events, different shows, tours, obviously amongst doing his own thing, help running THC, someone who, although isn't carrying millions of views on their own music, who isn't almost taking the headlines with loads of reaction videos on them and all these different articles, without people like him, you wouldn't have that to supplement these other people that are really taking the spotlight right now, which is nothing to take away from the guys that are doing the big numbers, but just to show that little bit of appreciation of, look, there are guys that are putting in a lot of work behind the scenes as well.
100%, 100%. You know, and there's like, you know, Good has been one of the main artists from day dot, you know, and he's actually watched the scene grow. And there's heaps of like old cats, man, that, you know, that you we've known from day dot, and they've kind of like went under the radar a bit. And then there's some others that are coming back up, you know, they're like, fuck, look at these young cats, man, like, you know, they're good, and like they're trying to get back into the scene, you know, just like, you know, with a new flavor, or bringing something from their old stuff, you know.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So let's pull it back a little bit.
Okay.
Growing up, what kind of music was playing in your household? Did you come from quite a music-oriented family? Was there music always playing, or did you kind of discover it on your own?
So like there was always music. Like I could say that I kind of grew up in a bit of a party house, to be honest, son. You know, those late school nights, you know, with the family, like just like blaring music like all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and that would be like stuff from like Eminem to like stuff from Stevie Wonder to like Pink.
Yep.
You know, it was like, you know, constant, you know, and like a bit of grime and such and such. But no, I kind of like discovered it on my own. Like my first ever underground crew, my first ever like Australian hip hop crew that I ever listened to was Disorderly Conduct, and they were like four crew, man. They were Karma, Dissipate, Maze, and a Docs, man, and they were absolutely fucking awesome, man. I got their mixtape from the boys I used to hang out with back in high school, and then it kind of just like grew from there. I started going out to all the hip hop events by myself. I was like, fuck this, man. And like, if I want to get out there, I've got to do it alone. So basically that's when, like, you know, after listening to their mixtape, I went to all the hip hop events. The Bakery, man, shut down now, but that's where like they used to be like the main household for like hip hop. And yeah, crazy. It was like, you know, and then just went on from there. And then obviously I did my school, and then after I finished school, I did my Wordplay. And then, you know, that was more of a bit of a reason why I have to get more now and like get my hands messy.
Nice. How old was you when you was going to these first shows?
18. I was 18. You know,
Okay.
you can get in if you weren't 18.
Okay. And was you driving at this point, or?
No, I still don't drive. Still don't drive.
Don't worry, I don't drive either. There we go. The non-drivers crew. Woo! Let's go.
I like the transport. I'm fine busting it. I'll just sit on the back of the bus, you know what I mean? Headphones in, I'm fine.
So you was going to shows quite local to you then?
Yeah, very local to me. Yeah, 100%. But then like the things that I actually like fiend off, man, was actually like rap battles. Was rap battles and ciphers, and that's what I was streaming throughout the YouTube, man. Like just like constantly with ciphers and fucking rap battles, and that's what, like, you know, it wasn't so much like their, like, you know, their individual tracks, but just like as a scene as a whole.
Right. So you took a massive interest in music growing up, started going to shows and whatnot, and that's how it bridged into your education, and you started the Wordplay.
Yeah.
And so with that, is that something that you always wanted to do, or did you kind of just stumble into that?
Kind of just stumbled into it, to be honest. I kind of like, you know, after graduating high school, I kind of like, you know, my friends, they did their own thing, I did my own thing. Like, you know, me and my friends, we tried hanging out again, but it just wasn't the same. Like, something was changing. Either I was changing or they were changing.
Right.
And I think I was changing. And, you know, I was changing into a person that I did not know yet. And I wanted to find out who that person was. So I kind of went into a bit of like a soul-searching journey of who I am, what I want to be, who I want to become. And kind of like hip-hop really helped me with that. It really did. It showed me that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only person, you know? And then it just grew.
Yeah, see, it sounds like a cheesy cliche when you say you find yourself through music, but I do understand what you mean. I do fully understand what you mean by that.
It really is cheesy, but, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it was always around me, music, you know, like they always say, like, I love this expression, you can take the girl out the country, but you can't take the country out the girl. And it was always there. I just had to rediscover her.
I like that. I really like that. It's you know, your music is more important to some than others. You know, some people really say they love music, but after I most of the time I can't tell at first glance. But if I know someone for long enough, I'll be able to tell whether they really love music or not. And loving music isn't necessarily always knowing the most artists and knowing these underground
100%.
guys that only
like,
have a couple hundred following.
100%. Like, sorry, Chaz, I didn't mean to cut you off then,
Okay.
but I know what you mean. Like, especially like with the people that say like they quiz you in it. Like, if you're his biggest fan, like, what's this track? What's this album off? Like, who's the, like, blah 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 blah. And like, you know, do you like the people that know the most lyrics?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you'll be able to spit his lyrics, man. But at the end of the day, they're his words. You know what I mean? Why don't you try understanding the words instead of trying to mimic the words? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with, you know, knowing as much as you can and spitting it lyric for lyric. You know, I am like that with certain artists and certain tracks. But I think there's a difference between having a passion and love for music and having a knowledge about music. I do genuinely think there's a difference there. I think that some people have a decent knowledge of music. They know about what's going on. They may know about the drama of what's going on. That's something that typically happens. People tell me, oh, did you hear this rapper got robbed for his chain and this rapper had beef with this one? And it's like, I miss all of this shit, I'll be honest.
At the end of the day, like, it's all high school, man. It's all high school. And, like, sometimes, like, me people, like, most of these artists, man, they don't want to fucking deal with that high school drama shit. Myself included, I'm all about the drama, hun. No drama here, just the drama, hun.
No, and that's the thing. As much as certain rappers and artists go on about different altercations and things and what's going on, realistically, especially with other artists, that's the last thing they want. The last thing they want is for them to be at a show and then run into that person and then have to deal with a whole altercation, because it messes up, you know, what's going on for them. That's especially if you're doing this full time. You know, and you're getting your money from shows and things like that. The last thing you want is for you to be messing up your shows. You know?
Of course, and it does surprise me. I do find it quite funny sometimes that when I listen to the tracks of these artists, I do try and find the underlining of like the disses, like, oh, who's that for? Who's that to? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's just a stimulation. You know, people like, you know, these artists who write every day, man, like, you know, like sometimes they like, you know, what they're gonna write about, you know, and you know, it does really help to create that stimulation of content, you know, and I do try and find that underlining, but like that's just me being a cheeky bitch, you know.
I mean, yeah, going back to the whole thing about rap being competitive, of course you're gonna have that almost hostile atmosphere in terms of some people's music. You know, I'm the best, don't come fucking near me. If you want to come test me, you want to clash me, let's go. You know, I'm guilty for that myself. You know, I can seem almost hostile at times, but realistically, I'll say it openly right now, I'm not out here trying to beef people for no reason. I'm happy to clash people for sport. You know, if someone, if Shadow turned around to me tomorrow and was like, you know what, let's do a Graham clash in London 2 months down the line, I'll be like, bro, I'm down. And I will sit here and I will genuinely tell myself I'm better than him. I'm probably not. I'll tell myself that I'm better than him, and I will go in as hard as I possibly can.
Fucking oath, man. Fucking oath. And so you fucking should as well. I'd like to see that happen. Shadow, where you at?
That's it. I'm going to title the video now. Call it Chazza calls out Shadow. No, shout out to Shadow. But, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, doing it for sport or, you know, doing it to kind of prove yourself that you're better than someone else. You know, that's kind of what the UK scene was based off of, was clashing, Lord of the Mics, pirate radio sets. You know, some absolute moments in history go down through clashing. You know, battle rap is literally based off of people saying your mum this, your dad that. You know, it's literally built off of that. Yeah, it's literally built off of that. But there's a line, and it is a fine line at times, between people being competitive and clashing and trying to one up each other, and people really getting into that real life shit.
100%. But the thing is, though, like most of these boys that we listen to, they grew up with each other, so it kind of like comes hand in hand sometimes, you know.
Oh, it does. And, you know, you get some people that kind of look for that fight. They look for someone to bite. And, you know, and they're just waiting for other people to respond. And then you get some people that they're just doing them. They're not looking for that right now. That's not the avenue that they want to take. And, you know, you have to respect that.
Especially when you're just coming onto the scene. Like, the first thing you want is to, like, you know, create, like, you know, this back and forth, like, aggravation, you know what I mean? Like, especially when you're just coming up, like, you just want to make it to be, like, all about the peace, man. Like, get the followers, man, and then, like, get that platform, and then fucking, like, you know, start mixing the pot, if you know what I mean. But, you know, that's kind of like just one man's opinion. That's one man's direction, you know, of how they want to take it.
Oh, of course. Are you aware of the Chip and Bugsy beef that happened in the UK a couple years ago?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay, so an artist called Chip from London and an artist Bugsy Malone from Manchester. I can't remember exactly how it started. I think it was one of them mentioned the other one's name, even though they never met each other. And they had a massive clash. You know, every week or two, someone would reply to each other with the video. And, you know, it was almost like the whole of the UK, the whole of London stopped for 10 minutes just to watch this. I remember there was literally memes and massive tweets of people saying, I'm not going to school today, or I'm skipping work for the morning because I want to hear the new Chip reply, you know. And it did become a massive thing. And Chip's been about for years, well over a decade, and his career kind of, I wouldn't say completely died, but he definitely was starting to go downhill. And from this clash, you know, he brought all the people that doubted him, saying you can't get into grime because you used to do pop. He got himself straight into the grime scene. Bugsy Malone, who was barely known outside of Manchester, I think he had a decent following in Manchester, but in terms of going across the nation, wasn't too known, and managed to grow himself. And literally, as of a few months ago, they taken a picture together, and everyone was like, what? They're okay with each other now. And so they kind of, although it seemed so real at first, you know, in the end, in hindsight now, you know, it was out of sport, and because of it, neither of them really lost. You know, some people say one beat the other and whatnot. Personally, I think Chip won if you're talking lyrically, but I'm from London, so maybe I'm biased. But at the end of the day, no one can say that either of them really lost.
And the rest is history.
That's it, and that's it. Music is about opinion. But either of them, I don't think either of them lost, because literally both of them built, one revived their career off of it, and the other one built their career. Chip is one of the most respected London artists now, and Bugsy Malone is arguably king of the North. You know, so they grew off of that clash. So I don't think clashing is a bad thing at the end of the day. It's just being able to separate music from real life.
100%. You know it. You know it. You know it all too well, hun. You know it all too well.
You know, there's I don't know too much about what the Husky situation is and Cash Cow. Are you aware of that one at all?
Cash Cow, no. I know Husky, like, of course, but not Cash Cow.
So they got arrested for assault or something like that. They were locked up for a bit.
Cash Cow, sorry. Yeah. Just mime and bank. Yes, I fucking know. I saw one of their tracks. I heard one of their tracks, man, on SoundCloud. 100%.
Right, so yeah, they're locked up, and it was just like, I really do hope that was some sort of misunderstanding or something that was pinned on them, as opposed to, you know, them doing something stupid to the point where if they do end up doing time, it affects their music career, you know. So again, I'm not
with this fucking, like, with this scene that's going on, not so much the music scene specifically, but just like of, like, you know, the street scene of what's like down here, man. As a culture, 100%, it's like, it's probably gonna stimulate their name more than anything, and like they're gonna be fucking like worship when they get out.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing now, that
you've got to separate life and music. But the thing is that these artists, they're writing about their life for their music, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I believe that you should write about what you go through, but is it fair to say that people in Oz thrive off of some of the negative things may happen?
Fucking oath, man. And it's getting a bit tiring, but the thing is, though, like, you know, as the music grows and as the artists grow themselves, like, I feel like sometimes their fans and their followers aren't growing with them. Kind of like, you know, just to take a step back with Eminem and his album Revival. Everyone was dissing that album, and I absolutely fucking loved that album Revival.
Mm-hmm.
He really took to his home roots, man. And everyone's like, where's Slim Shady? Where's Slim Shady? And it's like, dude, Slim Shady's growing up. Slim Shady's a dad now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's a different time in his life.
And like, you know, there's still so many young cats, man, that are just getting into hip hop and just getting into rap and like are just hearing about these things, you know, like the street life and shit like that. And unfortunately, that's always going to be there because there's always going to be young cats.
Of course.
Young guns, you know.
I mean, if I'm going to use the best example I can think of right now, Jay-Z in late 90s when he's putting out projects like Blueprint, and you know, he's talking about hustling on the streets in New York and things like that, you can understand it. And now that the man's literally in his 40s, approaching 50, and he's got kids, and his album 444, and he's talking about investing in property and what he can do when his kids grow up, and, you know, where Americans are as a culture, you know, I want to hear him talk about that, not about the shit he was doing in the late 90s. And that's
exactly.
Just me personally.
So you want the artist, you want the followers that actually want to grow with the artist, you know what I mean? Because you know what, like, life goes on, man, and like times goes on. Of
course, and you know, and I don't think anyone wants to hear someone talk their shit for 20 years straight. All right, when you're popping, when you're doing your thing, of course, but there comes a point where you are now a grown man. We have grown with you, so there comes a point where again, some people swear by them no matter what they do. They will swear by them. Yeah, they're an OG. Da, 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 da. For me, and I can only talk about me personally, I want to hear about what's going on in their point at this point in their life.
Exactly.
For real. Like what's really going on. Not I used to do. And there's nothing wrong with reminiscing or saying what used to happen. But let's hear a comparison of what there is now.
Exactly. And I think that's why, like, especially with Eminem, man, like, people didn't, like, really, like, consider with the new album Revival, and he got a real massive bad diss, man. And I was like a bit like cut off about it, because I'm like, this man is just like, you know, he's been an icon, you know, he's been affecting so many people's lives, and no one gave him a benefit of doubt that maybe, you know what, he's grown up, and he has grown up. And I loved the Revival, and I loved IAmChazza, and I went to his show, and he was absolutely brilliant.
Yep, I heard that show was great. I know a few people that went to the show when he was touring around New Zealand and Australia. But you know, I mean, it's interesting to see how some people are almost hated for, like, when you have someone, say, younger, who does a song about relationships. It's like, you're 18 years old, why are you talking about relationships for? But then when a 40-year-old guy is talking about selling drugs and shooting people on road, what, nothing said there? And you know, you kind of got to sit back and look at the contradictions that there are within rap culture as a whole, as a stereotype, you know. I mean, me personally, I don't mind people talking about, like, talking their shit, okay, as long as you can do it in a unique way, to not sound generic like everybody else, whether that's making it personal to you, whether that's making it personal to the area that you're in or other people involved, you know. But some people are literally out here making generic songs, snitching on themselves, you know, listing everything, and all it takes is one fed to be watching them video. I don't know how big of a thing in Australia it is, but in the UK, people have literally done prison time because of what they've put in a music video or what they've said on a track.
100%. It's like they say, don't drop names, but you drop your own, you know? He's like, oh shit, you just, like, basically dug yourself a hole there.
Yeah, so when I was in Northfield Woods and I had this knife at 9:42 a.m. on the 11th of November, man, it's just like, I think we should take a step back.
Especially, like, what happened in the Australian scene with, like, freaking, with TKO and, like, King AK, man. Like, you know, like their music videos went up on the freaking on the 7 News channel because there was guns being shown, and there was cash being shown, and drugs being shown, and so they actually got noticed, you know, and they were like basically red hot for a while, you know, and it was pretty crazy. Like, shit, like, what's gonna happen, you know?
Yeah. And so again, there's nothing wrong with doing all of that, but there's got to be a point where don't go too over the top before you ruin shit for yourself. I mean, it's very, very difficult to come out the other side of that. An example of that, is it fair to say Cursor?
What about?
Well, because Cursor, you know, going through his earlier stages of his career, you know, had his problems with not being played on radio, and he had that whole incident with the reporter and whatnot, and he's one of the few people that I would like to say is still doing their thing despite all of that adversity, should you say.
100%, man. He's on his 8th album right now, Lifestyle. We've got to go check that out. He's also got a tour coming up in Australia, so he's still doing his thing, you know?
But it's very hard to be in that situation. It's very hard to come out the other side of that. The UK equivalent, I guess you could say, is Giggs. Giggs was doing his thing for years. He got locked up, supposedly for something that wasn't his fault, somebody else's, and literally was banned from doing shows for literally years. And, you know, especially this is before Spotify was about, and even YouTube was a huge thing. So, you know, it's really difficult to make your money. It's really difficult to make your money, you know. He done jail time, so nobody wanted him in a job. So he took music seriously, and then police were stopping him from doing music, you know?
Shit.
And for him to come out the other side, and he's now on his 20-something project between mixtapes and albums, you know, and still doing his thing. And I would like to say the king of UK rap, not grime, but rap. You know, still doing his thing. I'd say he's a good comparison to make. It's complete different styles of music, but, you know, that kind of went through so much adversity to get where they are now, where 95 to 98% of people do crumble or go downhill or never become as big as they once were once they get into situations like that, whether it's looked down upon through the media or
on the other side, you know?
Yeah, massively. So with the Oz scene, how does the media perceive it at the moment? Because I know was it Chillin' It shows got shared on channel something news.
It was Nine News. Yeah, it was quite funny because like the irony behind that is that he did fucking like it was one of his bars to be on the Nine News, and then it happened. So I was like shit. And I actually have like a bit of a conspiracy theory. I believe like if a rapper like very the few selective rappers can actually like write the future, man.
Yeah.
But that's just a bit of a weird psychic conspiracy I have going on, that some rappers can write the future without even knowing it.
Law of attraction, believing in it so
like
hard.
That, 100%. Yeah.
And so it comes true. I mean, and so do you know where the media typically stand on Oz rap? Is it promoted in any way, shape, or form? Is it looked down upon?
Not really. Compared, like I think like one of the few people that have actually hit the media is like Cursor. TKO, freaking AK, and Chillin' It, man. Not much else has been really on the media, to be honest.
So it's not really in the limelight yet. And is it fair to say Oz rap is not a household known thing? Is it fair to say that there's people in Australia that are not aware of Australian rap in particular?
100%. Like even though the hip hop scene in Australia is growing and it's massive and it's growing so much, it's still pretty underground, hun.
Right. So is it important then for different forms of media outlets to be sharing Oz rap in a positive light?
There should be. There definitely needs to be a bit more of a stimulation going on with the Australian hip hop scene, so it's not perceived to be such an underground, thug this, OG this, and it's like there's so much more to it. Like it's really benefited a lot of lives, and I think it should be more of a positive outlet.
Yeah. And is that the media's fault, or would you say that it's the artists, or is it something that's not been figured out yet?
Something that's really not been figured out yet. Like, to be honest with you, like I think the few that have been, perceived on the media have been negative, and really haven't really had much of a positive factor on the music itself, but more just like the like of what it's created, like like shows being shut down and like freaking chaos being created and like as such, as somewhat. But no, there needs to be more of a positive there needs to be more of a positive attraction, with the media, but that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is going to be important, especially as it breaks into a household thing. Right now the UK is struggling massively with this whole debate about drill music and how violent it is and what it promotes, and they're trying to link that as the reason why there's been an increase in violent crimes and stabbings, especially in London. And personally, I don't think that there's too strong of a correlation between the two. I believe that, yes, music can get people in an angry mood, but I think the problem starts way sooner, that if someone's angry enough to go and stab someone, there's something bigger than the music that they listen to as the problem. I don't believe that little Timothy in, a nice little suburb somewhere, listens to drill music for an hour and then wants to go out on a madness. I don't believe it comes from that,
Of course not, 100% not. I think it's definitely what's the word, like kind of like with the whole like computer games and like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
People say if a child spends long enough in front of the TV, it kind of like brainwashes them. But I think that's just more of the individual itself, and like to have a bit more of an open mind and self-control.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I've grown up listening to rap music. I've grown up playing video games, still to this day. And I would like to say I'm not out on the road shooting or stabbing people, And that is the case for 99% of people. But, they look at the correlations of the things that they do, like games or music or what they watch on TV, and try to blame it on that. And I think it's just a cheap way. I think it's an easy excuse to pin it on something.
I was just about to say that. It's an excuse, People want to get to the bottom of why people are so violent and why is this happening? And it's kind of like, I just want to pin it on something, when really maybe you should like be looking in the mirror and pointing at yourself.
Mm-hmm. So for anyone watching this that maybe runs a social media account or does a blog or in any way, shape or form promotes the Oz scene, what can we be doing to help? What can we do to be sharing more positive light on it?
Just be positive, speak positive, Like, especially like with Trilliant, man, he's like the positive guru when it comes to like that positive energy. You know,
Yeah.
you know, he's not just about like. I believe like what he preaches and practices is not only helping his music, which is completely different content to what he speaks every day in his live feeds, but you know, it's amazing because, you know, he's really like, you know, reaching out to his followers and to his fans, you know, giving him more of a positive outlook, you know, and fucking 420 fam.
Yeah, shout out to 420 family. And he said that plenty of time. He's just like, look, I'm going to smoke my weed, I'm going to get bad bitches and positive vibes. You know? And 100%. It's not to say that everyone has to be exactly the same as Chillin' It. No way.
But it's definitely take that approach though, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. But I think if Oz rap is going to grow as a scene, it definitely needs some positive influence. I think it definitely needs help in all areas, whether that's the artist promoting their work, whether it's media outlets, whether it's the fans in general, because, you know, there are some toxic people, you know, which is the case in anything. Of course it is. But instead
and not everyone's going to get along though. There's so many different characters, man. We're all spliced and diced. We're all different, we're all beautiful in all different shapes and forms, and not everyone's going to get along. Yeah, everyone's going to have different opinions, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think that before Ozrap becomes a household thing, I think it has a very long way to go, but I definitely think it needs to start with people growing it in as much of a positive light as possible. Whenever there's anything negative, for example, whenever there has been an incident with an artist, for example, I'll mention Husky again, I try not to speak on it for too long. It's like, all right, we'll make people aware of it, but then we'll move on from it. I'd rather focus on the music that he's releasing or previous albums and projects, and I think that's the way forward, personally.
Always is, hun. Always is. Move forward. Don't look back. You know.
Definitely. So are we gonna be hearing? Are we gonna be seeing content from you soon then?
Who knows, man? Who knows? It's always been something like I've got like a couple. I haven't like the first time I started writing 2 instrumental beats was like 5 years ago. And I've kind of been like, you know, practicing, like work, projects that will never be finished, And I guess I just need to get basically put my finger out my ass and be like, Alicia, you have potential, you got this, you got that, And I still got so much more written content, like from the 5 years when I started writing. It's just crazy how much content I have, like so many bars, man. So many bars that are like, would benefit the scene that I'm just like, want you guys just like take them and just use them. But obviously that won't be able to happen. So I guess we'll have to use them myself.
Definitely. And before we finish off, is there anything you'd like to plug at all? Any message, any last words?
Nah, man, just live, laugh and love, man. Who knows?
I like
just, it. I know, be you, man, be you. Do
I
you,
like
you
it.
know?
Can't go wrong with that. Thank you very much.